Mini enthusiasts, how are you doing? Welcome back. I hope you're well and I hope you're having a great day. So in today's video, we are on my newest purchase, my Mini City. Now, I thought it'd be interesting to show you through what checks I do before I go and look at a car and what I look at when I go and see the car itself. It's also a chance for you to get to look at this Mini City in a little bit more detail. So let's start. Let's say you're looking through Facebook Marketplace, you're looking on eBay, and something grabs your attention. There's a few checks you can do in advance just to go and make sure that you're not buying a pup. And yeah, a bit of due diligence can save you a lot of time and hassle with checking out a car that might have problems on it. So the first thing I tend to do is, when I've seen a car, always get the registration number. If the seller is trying to sell the car with the registration number masked or anything like that, just give them a call. They should give you the reg number. If they don't, that would ring alarm bells. I would not look at a car without knowing the reg number before going to view the car first. So once I have the reg number, there's a very few quick and easy checks we can do. The first thing I tend to use is this website. It's called mycarcheck.com and it's all free. So I'll stick a link in the description down the bottom, and all you do is go in and you type in the registration number. So in the case of the Mini City, it's J for Juliet 459 Alpha Victor X-ray, and we punch that in. Now we get the choice. We can do a free check, a basic check, or a comprehensive check. Now the free check is obviously nothing, the basic check is $3.99 and the comprehensive check is $9.99. Now what I tend to do is, if everything looks good on the free check, I've viewed the car and I'm happy with it, then I'll come back quickly just before I purchase it, and I'll do either the basic check or the comprehensive check. That will check for things like outstanding finance, check whether the car has been written off, exported, etc, etc. But you can do some of those checks yourself. Certainly on an older Mini, you wouldn't expect it to have outstanding finance, but it's always worth checking. But it could have been written off. It could have had some accident damage to it. Now, if it is a category car, so if it's been an insurance write-off, it should be on the V5 registration document. But for the sake of $3.99, that will be picked up in the basic check. So on the free check, all we do, we enter the registration number. We're going to click on the free check now, and the first things I'm looking at is the MOT history, which we've got in detail down the side here. It will tell me all the previous MOTs back to around about 2005. Prior to that, the MOTs were paper MOTs and they weren't online, but after 2005 they were all online, and you can see the MOT history, what it failed on, what advisories, and that is really, really useful. So it also gives you the mileage record as well. So if we look at my car here, it actually was static from 2007 right round to 2020. It done 0 miles and didn't have any MOTs. So we can expand the history a little bit and look into why that might be. If we go back to 2007, it had 19,000 miles on it and it didn't turn a wheel until 2020. So it's been sat in storage for 13 years. What's really useful is looking at the failure points. Now what I'll do on something like this, because it's a Mini, I will be looking through for anything related to corrosion, because that will then give me a heads up on what to look for when I go and view the car. Because if it's failed previously on corrosion, I can look at how well that's been repaired. And if we look at my Mini, back in 2020 at 19,000 miles, it says offside integral body structure or chassis has excessive corrosion, seriously affecting its strength within 30 millimeters of a body mounting sill. So that means offside sill area, it must have been repaired at some point. So that'll be a point that I'll go and look at when I go and view the car. We also have things in here like the engine size, whether it's a manual or an auto, so you can check things maybe if the engine's been changed. if it's got a 1275 and it says 998 in here, if it says it was originally a manual and now it's an automatic. Those are all things to look out for. It also gives you the tax status check as well, so it will tell you whether the car is currently taxed, whether it's SORN. So there's some really useful information in here, including the date of build and the date of first registration as well. Now there is another way you can do this. You can just Google MOT history check, and we can put in the registration number, click continue, and that will give us the same details just in a different view. I do find this is much clearer, it's much easier to see and read than the My Car Check one, but use both of them to be honest. Now one thing I will also do is take the registration number and I will just put it into Google, because nowadays Google is clever enough to pick up registration numbers out of images, and you sometimes get people that have posted on forums and they've put their registration number, or they said there's a problem with the car. Someone might have written up about it in the past, so it's always a good source to check on Google as well. We're going to check my car and nothing comes up here, but just to give you an example, if I put in the racing green, it is then picking up through Google all of my videos where the registration number's on display of the car. So I've not put the registration number in the description, but it picks it up out the images. If I put PL's registration number in, I get some videos, I get pictures that people have taken at like National Mini Cooper Day, people's Instagrams, things like that. So it's really useful to look up some history of the car. So once I've done those basic checks, I'll then arrange to go and view the car. Like I say, at this point, there's no real point paying for the paid check to check for outstanding finance and accident damage, although you could do it now. The next thing to do is go along and physically see the car, because that is the most important thing you need to do. Right then, so you're going to look at a Mini with a view to buying it. First off, ask lots and lots of questions. I would absolutely insist on an MOT. Even if it's MOT exempt, it costs £54 for an MOT currently in the UK, and that's going to give the car a pretty thorough check over for anything really nasty, like corroded holes, worn out suspension. You'll find out about that on the MOT. This car had a brand new fresh MOT, so when I come to look at the car, I'm going to walk you around it. What am I looking at? First things first, from a distance away, just have a look and see whether it looks right. Looking at this, all the panels look straight, all the panels are aligned, there's no nastiness straight away. Obviously it's a Mini, so when you get up close, you might find some extra bits on there. Very important to come prepared as well, so bring some overalls or some old clothes if you've got some. You want a kneeling mat because you want to get down on your hands and knees. You're not going to have access to a ramp, or if you do, that's very, very nice and useful. A good torch and a pair of gloves. So I will start from the front, and the first thing I'm going to be looking at is the scuttle panel. So they're an area which is common for corrosions on later 90s Minis, but generally they corrode on all of them. But if you've got an MPI Mini, sort of 1997 onwards, it'd be very rare that this scuttle hasn't rusted away and been replaced. Then I'm going to look at the scuttle to wing joints. Now, there should be no sealer. From original, there's no seam sealer in here. So if you can see seam sealer in there, it's either been resprayed or more than likely it's had the wings replaced at some point. This is a 1991 car, and it's very, very unusual to see that it's still got what looks like the original wings on there, because it's not been seam sealed down inside here. So that's good news right from the start. I'll then follow the wings down and have a look under the headlights and follow this seam round from the side. Again, it should have a nice seam all the way round, and as you can see on this Mini, we're just getting some bubbled corrosion under here. Nothing too serious, but what I do notice straight away, there should be a seam running down the bottom. There should also be a seam running down there. There isn't a seam showing, so that means it's got filler in there. I don't think it's too bad. It does look like the original wing and front panel. So yeah, but we want to probably clean that off, see what's underneath, treat it and repaint it. And then from here, just go down a little bit further and you can see the bottom of the valance here. And again, this looks original to me. We then move along onto the other side. Again, have a look at the seam with the scuttle panel, follow the wing round, and then again we can see our join here, and again we can see there's no seam down here, so there's some filler in this area, and there's just some bubbling starting to come up here, so this wants addressing. Go down the bottom and we can see the bottom of the valance, which looks fine. One important point to note, I noticed this on a car for sale the other day. This is actually, I say 91, it's a 92 car, registered in 1992. So from 1986 onwards, should have side repeaters in there. Quite often I see 1990s minis for sale with no side repeaters. That means when they replace the wings on the front, they ordered the wrong wings and put the earlier type wings on. Should not go through an MOT with no side repeaters on, but it amazes me how many MOT'd minis I see with no side repeaters and the earlier type front indicators. Now, as we go down the side of the car, one of the most important points on a Mini for me is the roof, particularly corrosion. Now, if you look on this roof, there is actually a dent in the top here. The good news is, I think I can probably get one of those paint this dent repair guys to sort that out, because it's not double skinned in this area. You've got the headline in there, but it's quite easy. If I remove this rear quarter light, we'll be able to get that dent pulled out with no visible sign of any damage or repair. Look in the guttering as we go round, especially at the back here, they tend to corrode. I would walk away from a Mini with a rusty roof because they're difficult to repair right. If it's very, very light rust, fair enough, but if it's got to the point where it's perforated, you're in a world of pain there, unless you're going to bodge it up, which unfortunately lots of people do. Next up will be the A panel. So typically this is a common area for corrosion on a Mini at the bottom here. This is quite remarkable that this is not corroded. There are some little dimples in here. They're the original spot welds. That's quite normal. So this area down the bottom here will corrode on A panels, and this seam at the top here. If there's no seam, if it's fully blended in, chances are that's been pulled over with filler. The A panel's been replaced. It's difficult to recreate that seam like it is from original, but this car, as you can see, it's very good. Next up, look at the bottom of the doors because they are prone to corrosion. Just look for bubbling. This door looks fine, there's no corrosion there. And as we go down into the rear quarter, again, they will corrode down the bottom here, but again, we're looking pretty good, to be honest. And then down into this corner here, and then we can look inside into the closing panel of the rear valance. And this all needs a good clean up, but that looks pretty solid to me. While we're around this side, just open the door, look at the door aperture inside here and look for corrosion on this doorstep. If there's any bubbling rust on there, it's quite likely that when you start scraping it off and cleaning it up, that will make a hole. It's not too difficult to repair that doorstep, but we'll look in a moment at the sills as well, because there could be other corrosion. If you get the chance, get on your hands and knees and look at the very bottom of the door, the seal down the bottom here. And as you can see on this car, there's a tiny little bit of rust bubbling there, but that door is actually really, really good. They tend to crack up around here and you get a bit of corrosion. Again, on this, tiny, teeny little bit, but nothing to worry about. Moving round to the back now, sort of above the rear lights, you generally don't get a problem with corrosion, but you do get problems with corrosion down the bottom here by the hinges into this corner below those rear lights. This car, pretty good. You also tend to get corrosion around the filler cap. This car's very good. There is a little bit of corrosion I noticed just beneath that headlight there, so won't be difficult to sort out. That's mainly surface corrosion. Generally, if you see rust bubbled up, when you scrape that off, its chances are it's going to be a hole underneath it. Like this, where it's like that spidery type of rust, probably be okay. So let's just go round. We're going to do the same checks on this side. So rear quarter, bottom of that rear quarter panel, again looking down the door. Door looks absolutely fine. Let's open the door, let's have a look underneath. And this door, we do have a bit of corrosion down the bottom. Nothing serious, something we can address now and stop spreading any further. And then once again, like I said, check the door aperture as we go round, and we'll actually notice on this one, can you see we've got some bubbled rust here? So that hasn't perforated yet. If the owner doesn't mind, just pull back the seal and have a look. And as you can see, that is quite bubbly there, quite visible corrosion. I'm sure when I clean that off, that's probably going to turn into a hole. So that'll be a repair that we need to do. Luckily, it's literally just that small section at the back there. The rest of it looks absolutely fine. But yeah, if you see anything like that, that's more than just surface corrosion. That will turn into a hole. And then just the same around this side, tops of that A panel. Again, doesn't look like it's been replaced, and there's no corrosion at the bottom of the A panel either. So let's have a look, bit more of an in-depth look now. Again, as long as you can get the owner's permission, take out the front floor mats and lift up the front carpet for a look. You can find a lot going on typically on Minis. This is surprisingly good. So the floor pan's not really deformed. There is this sound deadening material here, which is usually absolutely wrecked by now, but on this car is still in good condition. And when we pull it back, you tend to find corrosion in the corner here. It tends to be started because the floor pan gets dented where it's lifting up through pour jacking. I'm not going to go too mad with this today, but you're looking for corrosion in this area here and round the front here. But this is looking really, really good, which is great news. Always just make sure we put everything back how it was. And then we're going to do the same, but have a look in the back of the car. So lift up the front seat. Again, floor mat in the back here. Pull up the carpet. And in this Mini, it's absolutely immaculate. Look down in that bottom left hand corner, you can see there's a tiny bit of corrosion just started there across the seam, but nothing major. Everything else looks really, really good. Now, a really important thing you can do, if you can get the owner's permission, and it's a older Mini, if it was after 1997, these rear door bins are enclosed by a plastic sort of area for keeping bits. But in these earlier Minis, it's just a bit of cardboard. If you can pull that out, give you access to inside the rear door bin. Now we need to get the light, and then get the light, and then look right down into that door bin. And again, you're looking for corrosion. There's a bit of paint on here. We can tell that because there's a rubber plug there. It's been painted. So it probably has had a bit of a repair at the back here. That'd be no surprise. But it's very, very clean. While we're here, we can probably look around the other side as well. And again, looking pretty good. I can just see evidence of what looks like a repair patch, a square patch there, which will have been done in the past. We'll look at that on the outside. So now just rinse and repeat on the other side. Floor mats out, carpets up. And again, this is looking phenomenal. We're looking for corrosion along here, and then corrosion right at the very front here. Again, this is all still original and intact. That's unusual. Slight bit of denting on the floor there where it's probably been jacked in the past, but I've seen a lot worse than that. And then again into the back here, looking pretty good. Like I say, important to check down in that bottom corner there, which goes down. That's the heel board where the rear subframe mounts. Common for corrosion. But on this car, we're in pretty good condition. Next up, we need to get on our hands and knees with a torch and have a really good look at the sill section of the car. So
The outer sill is this part that goes from the join with the doorstep, and it comes around about 5 inches in total and then joins the floor here. It is very common for this floor to be really bent up down here. This is called a slinger bracket here. That all gets crushed. It gets used for jacking, shouldn't be used for jacking. And then when the floor gets distorted, it cracks, and then that can cause corrosion. Very important, you're looking for sills that are open. So as you can see, they've got a hole in the bottom that is open to the air. That allows the shell to breathe. If these are closed off, it's probably got an oversill on it, which will come right round to about here before it's welded, and these will be fully closed. That's bad news. I've got plenty of videos removing oversills to show you the damage they can do. Now, you want to follow it forward. Once you get into sort of the middle sort of third of the floor, generally they're okay unless it's a really old Mini. Have a really good look at the front here by the floor pan, looking for corrosion along here. And then inside of this inner wheel arch, again, area that's prone for corrosion, especially up inside here. Follow that sill all the way back now and just keep looking the whole way along. Again, original sills all the way by the looks of it. I think we have probably had a repair, so there is a small repair section there. I can just make it out. So, and possibly a repair section around about here as well, but at some point I will get all those sills cleaned off. So check both sides the same, and then when you come round here, the rear wheel arch, you're looking for this closing panel at the back here, and then inside the arch here should be clean and free from corrosion. Just go along it, tap it with your fingers up inside. You'll feel if it's gone crusty, but they tend to corrode right at the very top here. Look down to the rear hill board. This is a rear subframe mount, and if you can get really low, you can see then the bottom of the rear subframe prone to corrosion around this area, and the subframe going really thin. So there is surface corrosion here, but nothing too scary looking. And again, look for this rear slinger bracket because it generally gets jacked on at the back here. This one, as you can see, pretty much intact. At the front, difficult to see because there's not much room in here. But yeah, just inside that flitch panel, inner wheel arch there, you're just looking for corrosion. Try and get a torch, have a look round inside. You can go right at the very front here and look backwards as well. Yeah, generally doesn't look too bad. Obviously do all of the same checks on the other side. We also want to look inside the boot. So again, if the owner doesn't mind, pull everything out the boot. You should have the jack. We'll have the spare wheel. And then we've got a battery in here as well. So we are looking for corrosion along the rear lip, along here. This car doesn't look too bad. And we're looking for corrosion in these rear corners. And again, all looking pretty good on this car. Hard to see on the other side because we've got the fuel tank in place, but just generally have a good look. If you see bubbling corrosion or all distorted around here, chances are that rear floor's starting to go, and it's a difficult repair that because the subframe is in the way. You'd likely have to take the subframe out. Right, under the bonnet next. Now, get on your hands and knees, have a look on the floor for oil leaks. Now, it's pretty common for a Mini to have oil leaks, but it shouldn't be too major. I wouldn't be put off by the odd drip or two, but if there's a big puddle on the floor, I'd be asking some more questions. Under the engine bay, obviously, usual stuff. Pretty straightforward here. Pop the dipstick out, have a look how dirty the oil is, and the oil should just be either clean, black, but it shouldn't be milky in any way. Milky could indicate a head gasket gone. Pop the radiator cap off, check the coolant, should be relatively clean, not too rusty. And look as well, so we think these are original wings. You can usually tell by the spot welds that go up in the inside. They're nice, neat and consistent on both sides. They are spot welds rather than plug welds. Pretty convinced that's the original wing. And then look on the front, for this is the front end number. So this is not the chassis number, don't get confused, this is a front end number for the car. Now the only thing odd that I've noticed on this car, this has been cut here and welded back on by the looks of it, so I can't understand for the life of me why. This is the original front panel, this is the original wings, but I don't know, maybe the engine's been out at some time and someone decided to chop that bit out to make life easier. Very, very strange. VIN number on this sort of 90s Mini, the chassis plates on the inner wing here, just look for like the original rivets and things like that. And if the scuttle panel hasn't been replaced, the VIN number should be up on here. Now I can't actually see it because it's got that bit of foam trim in there, but what you can do, just run your finger underneath and then around about here you should feel where the VIN number is. Now I can actually feel that. I can feel there's a VIN number stamped in there. At some point later on I'll probably take this trim off and have a proper look, but I can definitely feel that's got a VIN number stamped in, so that's the original front scuttle panel, which is quite amazing. Then, as I say, just have a general look around for tidiness, make sure everything's complete, nothing's missing. This car has got a few modifications done on it, like this twin inlet airbox. I'll talk about that in a future video. So that's just a brief walk round check. You could spend hours going over stuff, but you are limited by how long you can stand on someone's driveway and do this sort of things. Like I say, a lot of it is in the prep work, it's in the research to do to begin with, it's asking questions, it's finding out a little bit of the car. And for me, the key thing is an MOT test. Even if it's not due one, I would ask for an MOT to be done on the car. For the sake of 54 quid, that's going to give you peace of mind that there is no serious corrosion there and that the suspension's not falling apart on the car. And with those checks you can do yourself, you can really make sure that you're buying a half decent Mini. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please remember to like, subscribe and share. And then I'll be back on the next episode to talk about what am I going to do with this Mini? What are my plans for this little project Mini City?